Hello lovely people, it's Candy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a really fun tag for the lovely Anna over at Anna Astral Lady Tarot, and it's her brilliant tag, Am I a Cliche Tarot Reader? Am I a Cliche Tarot Reader? Let's find out. So category number 1, I own more than one version of a deck. Well, yes I do. This was the first Rider-Waite deck I bought. At the time when I bought it, I had no idea that there was more than one version of this deck. That's how new to tarot I was. I thought there was just one Rider-Waite deck. I love the colours in it, but the printing is very muddy. So I started looking around for another one, and one came up on eBay. This is the Radiant, much brighter colours. If you compare the two, this one was edged and trimmed when it came to me. I loved it. I love both of them now. This deck now lives on my ancestor altar because this is the deck I use when I want to do mediumship spreads with my dad. So 2 versions of the Rider-Waite. However, I also own 2 versions of a soul deck of mine, which is the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. I love this tarot deck. The other version I've got is still unopened. It's part of my Christmas present haul to myself. I'm in depth years, so some of the decks I've bought have been put aside for that. I did a deep dive with the Dreams of Gaia Tarot this year and loved it so much that I wanted a deck to go in my bag. This is the most beautiful, healing, comforting, rejuvenating deck. I just love the imagery. I love the artwork. So I'm really pleased that I've got more than one version of this deck. I also inadvertently, I have 2 versions of 2 other decks. So this I class as my first soul deck. This is the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. I used this deck solely for a few months at the start of my tarot journey, and it was the first time that a deck took out of the picture all the other decks I owned. I just couldn't leave this deck alone, and I still love it. I think it's the colours, I think it's the purple wash to it. And Nancy over at Paper Moon Tarot, Nancy sent me a beautiful message saying she wanted to gift me some decks, and part of those decks was another version of this. Now, she knew I'd already got one version, but I really wanted to have a go at trimming the edges off and edging it. And after my disaster with the Iris Oracle trying to modify a deck, I'd been too scared to cut into this deck, which is really special to me. So she very kindly sent me her version of this, which I'm going to use to attempt to modify. And in the same box, Nancy's put a surprise in, and she put in this deck, but I already owned a copy of it. So what I'm going to do again with this deck, it's another deck that I really want to modify because I find it just too big to handle. I'm not a great fan of these multi-coloured, different coloured borders in the deck. I do like borders in a lot of decks, but I think this one is one that really shines without the borders. But again, I've been too scared to attempt to modify it. But now I've got the second copy, I'm going to use that for modifying. So backup decks, do I own any backup decks? I've never ever bought a backup deck. Does it count if you want to order another deck when you've already damaged it? If it counts, then this would be the one. I love the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. However, I had an accident. I was doing a reading with this deck on my blue tiled coffee table, and because it was shiny blue tiles, I hadn't realised that the kids had tipped off a glass of water. So I happily was throwing a multi-card reading down on the table with this deck. When I came to journal on the individual cards and pick the cards up, I realised that some of the cards were stuck in a puddle of water. So buying a backup deck in retrospect, I don't know as that counts, but the Raven's Prophecy Tarot is a deck that I'm thinking about getting a second copy because of damage, so that kind of fits. Category number 3, the tarot tattoo. Do I have a tattoo to do with tarot? Well, I've only got one tattoo and it's on my wrist. Are wrists painful to get tattooed? Yes. Now this has got nothing to do with tarot. This has got to do with an art piece that I did. It was called Finding Tilly, and it was a huge piece in one of my solo exhibitions called Mind the Gap. It was a piece all about falling back in love with your child and reconnecting with your child after they've had a diagnosis of some kind. It's a really shocking path to walk through to find out that your child has a diagnosis of anything really. Mind the Gap was an exhibition all about the gaps between the path that we think we're walking and the path that we're actually on. And Finding Tilly was the big interactive piece of that exhibition. And what I did for it, I sent out a questionnaire to other moms of children with Smith-Magenis syndrome. Within that questionnaire, I got sent back answers from a gorgeous friend who supported me in my early days on this path of special needs motherhood. She sent her questionnaire all the way from Alaska, and she talked about the circle. She told me that her daughter with Smith-Magenis syndrome had taught her to trust in the circle, to understand that there are always storms just on the horizon when you're living with special needs in your world, that storms come, but to trust that they're going to roll on past. She said that her daughter had taught her to believe that the magic always rolls around. You can go from stormy moments to magic, and life is a circle. So that touched my heart so much. It kind of sums up my everyday. That's why I got the circle on my wrist, because in the worst of times when I'm having to hold Tilly or restrain her, my wrists are always visible. It's a reminder to hold on. The magic's about to roll back round. I also tell my kids it's to show them how much I love them, round and round and round with no end. There's no end on a circle. So that's my only tattoo. That's the story behind it. Would I get more? Would I get a tarot tattoo? Yeah, I love tattoos. I was late to the game. You're tattooing older skin now, but who the hell cares? I'd like witchcraft tattoos as well. I'd love a crow, I'd love feathers, I'd love an octopus, I'd love a swan. A tarot tattoo, I've never really thought of that. It doesn't immediately jump to the top of the list for tattoos, but never say never. Category number 4, tea. I'm not really a tea drinker. I am a black, strong coffee drinker. No sugar, no milk, just give it to me strong and straight. I am a mother of a child with Smith-Magenis syndrome. We are the Olympian gold medal winners of no sleep. Just pump that caffeine into me. Don't mess around with herbal teas. Don't give me infusions of mild green tea or anything that's good for you. Just give me the strongest black coffee you can find and give it to me on repeat. Category 5, crystals. Well, if you'd have asked me even 6 months ago, I would have said probably not. For me, I find magic in stones and things that are easily found. These stones were found on my favourite beaches. These are probably my 2 most precious stones that I've found. Again, there's the link with the circle there. I love looking for stones and sea glass, like finding heart stones. I love stones like this with their own individual artwork within them. I collect stones from special places. This was a stone on the path in Glastonbury up to the tour. It's shaped like the tower on the top, which somebody pointed out to me, which I love. I've got up to show you my ancestor altar, because you can see here there's a picture of my dad with a piece of rose quartz. Now, rose quartz was the first crystal that I think I got pulled to in a guided meditation in therapy. I met my dad on the beach and he was carrying a piece of rose quartz. At the time, I didn't even know what the crystal was. It was the therapist who, when I cried and told her what I'd seen, she explained to me that rose quartz is to do with unconditional love. So you can see on my ancestor altar, I've got the cards from the Rider-Waite deck that I use to do mediumship spreads with my dad. And I've also got pictures of my dad. Here he is in the army with pieces of rose quartz. This was the first crystal I ever bought, which was a piece of rose quartz shaped like the one that I'd seen my dad carrying. And also at the front, you can see I've got special stones that called to me as well. So stones and crystals. And if I show you my board in front of me, this is on my tarot desk. A lot of these, you can see some of these are some of the crystals, just a tiny few of the crystals that Shannon sent me. Smoky quartz, I absolutely adore quartz, and amethyst as well. This chevron amethyst Shannon sent me, and this was a piece of chevron amethyst I found in Glastonbury. This big piece of amethyst was also found in Glastonbury. I would love to learn how to do crystal grids. That's on my radar. And Shannon also sent me this beautiful crystal Bible book, which is so useful. Now, this is going to be a go-to, I think, when I begin to incorporate crystals more into my magical practice. I have jewellery as well in crystals. Again, these were all gifts from Shannon. We got sent the most glorious box. That's black tourmaline. I think the black crystals and the protective crystals I feel a real affinity for, as well as the rose quartz and the amethyst. But I also like working with crystal decks, because I don't think I want to get a huge collection of crystals, only because I'm very aware of the environmental impact of that. So I think crystal decks are fantastic for working with. This one lives on an altar by my front door, and I pull a card from this a week to kind of set the tone for the week. Also picked up for £2 on eBay this little Magic of the Crystal Soul and Spirit deck, which again is really nice to work with. It has rose quartz I pulled straight off the top. This has a sort of zoomed in view. On the back, you've got these pretty awful backs really, but it gives you a phrase with them: carry unconditional love with you, be peaceful. There's a message from my dad right there. These are a way to work with crystals that don't involve digging into the earth at all. Next category is your first tarot deck that you bought that you didn't realise it was a tarot deck, and you chopped it up into little pieces and converted the box and the guidebook into a Harry Potter Little Book of Monsters. Gone, I think that one's just me. Yeah, it's just me that sent me on a quest to replace that first deck that I chopped up and we turned into a Little Book of Monsters. Yeah, sorry, that's just me. Category 6, tarot books. You have lots of tarot books. Guilty as charged, governor. Let me take you and show you my tarot shelf. So part of my bookshelves in my tarot room, underneath a self-care altar, there is a shelf of tarot books, and underneath that there's a shelf of kind of spirituality and witchcraft books. You can see there's things like practical tarot techniques and moonology. There's Middle Earth Wisdom, which comes with an oracle, which I don't even own. Keywords of Thoth, Marseille, which I don't even read. The Book of Thoth, which I haven't read. Tarot Tells the Tales. God, there are so many here that I haven't read. In fact, I have to say most of these I haven't read. I'm slowly getting through to the classic Tarot 101. There is a Secrets of the Waite-Smith Tarot. This one has been used to death while I was learning. Animal Speak, not necessarily tarot linked, but I do love Ted Andrews decks. There's the lovely Tom Benjamin's book. There's my laundry. Tarot correspondences. This one, I can't wait to start on this one. This is Tarot for Transformation. There are lots of guidebooks in here for different decks. On my piano store, hot off the press from the caravan, there are some other tarot books that I took to the caravan with me. That's an inner child book that I'm currently reading, but you can see there are tarot books in piles everywhere. Category 7 is I've got a tarot journal. Well, I've also got a confession. I am absolutely obsessed with notebooks and journals and even plain notebooks. I've literally got them coming out of my ears. Whenever I see a nice notebook, I literally can't resist it. I just put loads of notes in them. Wow, how original is that? I use them all for like different purposes. Again, that's just mind-blowing. I use them for notes and different purposes. Eloquence on this video. This was the first bullet notebook I bought a few years ago. This was at the start of 2020. 2020, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I would do a theme a month, all based on the idea of shine, because 2020 was going to be an absolute amazing year full of adventure. Little did we know. So I set it all up. I did loads of artwork in it, and then it got abandoned in disbelief at how crazy 2020 was going to become. You can see January was based on the theme of Jack Frost. These were my very first watercolours that I did. The very first ones trying to paint, and I realised I loved it. But I spent so long doing art in these books, I soon realised that I wasn't actually using them usefully. February was to do with the shine of lighthouses. So you can see the theme. January, the shine was ice. February, the shine was lighthouses. And then March hit. It's been left empty. So this was my very first ever bullet journal. As far as tarot journals go, this year and last year were my first, and I made them out of scrap. This is made out of an old book and just lots of Amazon envelopes. Oh, Amazon envelopes. The great shopping spree of 2020 left me with lots of Amazon envelopes, which I converted into places to take my tarot readings and to journal on tarot readings. This year's tarot journal looks like this. Again, it's really used. Lots of ways of tracking my tarot practice within these journals. But I also have a study tarot journal made from an adapted book. So this was a hardback book I bought for a couple of pounds in a charity shop. It's got a lot of my readings to do with my dad in here, and also poetry and artwork to do with my dad. But I am also building into it notes to do with tarot study as well. Category number 8 is the shuffle. If we're going to be talking about shuffling, then you've got to get out the Carnival at the End of the World tarot, because this cardstock, don't show me up now by getting slippy, this cardstock is glorious to shuffle. I am not the type to get a deck out really to sit and shuffle when I've got nothing to do, basically because I've got 2 dogs and 3 kids and I've always got something to do. Possibly at the caravan when I'm there on my own, I might sit and lose myself in the pleasure of just shuffling. I do riffle shuffle, I do bridge, I do overhand shuffle. My hands are tiny and oddly shaped, so sometimes that limits the way I shuffle. But do I love shuffling? Oh yes. Did I squeal for joy the first time I managed a bridge? Oh yes. Have I destroyed a deck by bending a card, practicing the bridge? Oh yes. Shuffling, the tactile element of tarot passion. You've got to love it. Category number 9, fairy lights. Can I claim myself to be the queen of the fairy lights? I'm gonna do it. I am the queen of the fairy lights. I've got them all over the garden, I've got them all over the caravan, I've got them in the lounge, I've got them in every room, I've got them in my bedroom, I've got them all over this tarot room. Fairy light therapy is a phrase I coined myself when I was going through the worst divorce you can ever imagine, and every day was the glorious mix of yet more court surprises and yet more letters asking for thousands of pounds from solicitors. In that glorious time, I looked at anything that would give me a physical lift to keep me going, to keep one foot in front of the other. And it was then that I discovered fairy light therapy. I found that it was very hard to stay down and depressed when you walked into a room that was absolutely full of fairy light. It would make me smile. It would just give me a tiny lift to stop me falling into complete despair. Fairy light therapy became a really important, and I'm not being flippant here, it was a really important part of my walking through hell and getting out the other side. If you're going to walk through hell and not camp out and stay there, then fairy lights lighting the way are a very effective way to get out. Category number 10, candles. I do love a good candle. Sometimes light candles on my desk, although having nearly set fire to a deck once doing a deck walkthrough and dropping a card into a lit candle, I am less prone to put candles on my desk now. Plus I've got 3 kids, so I'm always scared that candles are going to get knocked. Recently I have started buying little birthday candles, the ones that go on cakes, to do witchcraft with. For a start, they come with their own little holders and they're easily pushed into things. Secondly, they burn out really quick. While you're even thinking about a spell, it will burn through. So I love using birthday candles. However, having looked at people's Glastonbury hauls in the last few weeks, having seen the glorious candles that they've bought, it's made me want to go back to Glastonbury, to the candle shop, and buy bags full of candles. So I am being led astray by you naughty lot, consuming things. But we won't get into that topic because that can become a hot mess really quickly. But candles, yes, I love them. Birthday candles, a cheap, safer option for people in a house of chaos like me. Category number 11, do I have a designated tarot table? Yes, I've got this desk down here. I am going to be brave and I'm just going to show you the mess that this tarot table is in. My tarot table with a beautiful piece of driftwood that I found on my favourite beach, where I often place my cards or do walkthroughs, all very beautiful and spiritual and organised. And then we come back, we've got my notes, we've got decks out for this video, we've got old coffee mugs that really need to be washed, and more things piled up around me. I have things on the floor and oh my lord, look at those sexy socks. So yes, I do have a designated desk for tarot reading. However, you can't see it at the moment. This is the reality. Now I'm going to add some more cliches in that I saw other people do. I saw somebody mention bags and cloths. Now, I like to store my decks in their boxes. However, some boxes that come are truly horrendous. You have to tear the cards to get them out, and those boxes have been relegated to the cupboard pretty swiftly. So I have found myself having to purchase some bags. And once you start purchasing bags, well, it becomes another thing, doesn't it? So this is my tarot cupboard that you see in front of you. I did share how I store my decks. You can see the state of my desk being reflected. I'm glad I've just shared it, otherwise that would be embarrassing. But this was a cupboard that I made for my daughter. It used to be my daughter's jewellery box until she decided she wanted just empty space. And you can see normally I store my decks in their boxes. However, you can see some bags beginning to creep in here, and also where tiaras and necklaces used to hang down the side of the tarot cupboard. You can see I have more bags. This is a bag from the lovely Sandra at the Whispering Well. These are just some plain calico bags I bought on eBay. I really like her artwork, so I bought those. This is my most recent bag. This is a deck from the glorious Lisa and Peggy Papez. Peggy, of course, has an eBay shop, which I will link below. They gifted me the most amazing deck, which I'm going to have to share. It's a secret at the moment, which came in a Peggy bag, my first Peggy bag, and oh my goodness, the quality of it. Also, with that beautiful gift, thank you, Lisa, thank you, Peggy, I loved it, came this wonderful reading cloth. Look at this. This is a Peggy creation as well. It's got embroidery on the back. You turn it over and it's got this wonderful sort of cosmic scene, which I've just done a walkthrough of a deck on, and it looked wonderful. So tarot cloths and bags, Peggy, I am going to be coming your way again for sure. I think I'm just proving that I'm such a cliche, aren't I? Let's look at another one, other divination systems. So, am I interested in other divination systems? Yes, I am. You know that advice where they say when you first find a spiritual path, don't rush in, don't try and do everything all at once. I ignored that totally. So that's why I have a set of runes that I thought were absolutely amazing. These are on black onyx. Again, one of my favourite crystals. And I thought, right, I'm going to learn the runes. Dawn, Michelle and Lisa were doing their rune study group at the time. I was going to join in. I was going to learn all about the runes. And I didn't join in with any of it yet. At the same time, I bought a rune book to study, which is still unread. I also bought a tarot deck because, hey, let's combine different systems. A tarot deck about the runes, clever. And again, it's not even out of its little clip. You can see now why I had to call a halt and go on a depth year. Also, I got sent this deck in this beautiful pouch with a raven on, which makes me think of the Morrigan. This was sent to me by the glorious Queen of Set over at Oya's Girl. It's the deck, The Voice of the Trees. She sent me the book as well. These have got the Celtic Ogham symbols. Am I saying that right? Ogham symbols on, which are basically like runes, but Celtic runes, linked to trees as well. This now has sparked my interest more than this type of rune, because Celtic mythology and the Celtic goddesses are a big part of my practice. I am from Britain, I am in the UK, so this is really part of a heritage that I'm very close to. Also, bibliomancy. Now, bibliomancy I did right from a little kid. I used to get my books, and if I ever had a question, I would flick them open, put my finger on a line and read it and try and divine from that. At the time, I didn't even think about what I was doing, but I do use books for bibliomancy. I do pair it sometimes with my tarot readings. I love using this Louise Hay book, Power Thoughts, for flicking through. I also buy books from charity shops that have got set themes, like The Shack. It's a really dark, shadowy, scary book, really. You can see I've cut into it. I do sometimes use books like this with a theme for set purposes to do bibliomancy with. This is for shadow messages because it's a dark book and I flick through and point. I not only did this as a kid, but I've always done this in my art. I've always used secondhand books to find phrases that either inspire or can be added into art. So bibliomancy is part of my practice and my art practice and has been with me for a long time. And then here I've started collecting charms. Now this is a selection of things I've collected for my art, or jewellery that I've cut up, or actual charms that I've bought to go in. I absolutely been blown away by the idea of charm casting. Ange over at Tiny Trinkets and Tarot, and of course the lovely Evie over at Fairy Wren Whispers. I saw her using charm casting and big pots of Lego letters, and I just loved it. I loved the thought of it, and I am in the middle of trying to make a casting box for these things that I'm collecting, but I'm just collecting little trinkets and charms, some not so little, so different sizes, ready to start charm casting, which I haven't done yet, but it's on the card. Another fun one was I own a cat. I don't own a cat. I will never own a cat at the moment, not because I don't love cats, but because I own 2 rescue lurchers, and I wouldn't give a cat a chance in hell of surviving my 2 lurchers. Having seen their reaction to cats walking along the garden walk, or cats we've seen out on walks, it's akin to them spotting a squirrel. Not good. No, I don't own a cat. I love cats, I love dogs, but my 2 rescue lurchers, who are huge and massive but think they are lap dogs, would not tolerate a cat in the house. If I had to choose one forever, hands down, dogs. I'm really a dog person. Decks in my purse or man bag. Now, I did buy the Dreams of Gaia mini edition, which I showed earlier. That is, I think, going to be the deck that comes with me in my purse. But I do have some decks in a tin. Out of all of the decks in the tin, the one that's been in my purse the most is this Barbara Walker Tarot in a tin, which is magical. This comes on the school run with me a lot of times while I'm waiting for the kids to come out. This one will get readings along my car dashboard. Another one, because I'm on a roll now, with people talking about incense. Do I love incense? Yes, I do. What a surprise is that, because I'm not a perfume girl. Don't really like perfumes. I often find smell very evocative, very overpowering. I like it, but after 10 minutes I need it gone. So perfumes have never really been a good idea for me. But incense I love. These were some Mary Magdalene incense sticks that I bought from the Chalice Well shop at Glastonbury. Super expensive, super gorgeous. My favourite incense is Dragon's Blood, and there's a huge fly flying around me and it's vile, so ignore the fly. I do like this make of incense. Also room sprays. This is a make called Dragon Soul Healing, which you can't actually get in the UK. Shannon sent me this in the box. This is peppermint and lavender spray. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. And a new smell, I know this isn't really incense, we're talking smells now, is patchouli. Now, patchouli is this roll-on perfume that I got from Glastonbury. Now, this is patchouli. Oh my gosh, I love it. Of all the perfumes that you can put on, this one I don't get fed up with. The kids don't like it very much. They keep telling me I smell like earth. But perhaps that's why I like it, because earth and me have quite a strong connection. So patchouli, it's a new smell that I'm loving at the moment. Gods and goddesses, yeah, I've got links to the Morrigan and Crows. I have links to Bridget, the Dagda as well. Irish Celtic mythology, a huge part of my life. And I'm going to add another one in, things with tassels and shawls. Do you like things with tassels and shawls? A link back to the imagery of the old-fashioned fortune teller. I love tassels on clothing and I love shawls. Does that make me a cliche? Does it make you a cliche? Last one, I think my list has got 20 things in. How greedy is that? I collect other things. Perhaps I'm not going to show you now. Perhaps that might be a video all in its own right. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching along. Anna, I love your channel. I'm going to leave all of Anna's links below. I'm going to leave a link to the playlist for this tag because it's fabulous. I'm sure everybody's already seen it, but I'll leave a link anyway. Anna, thank you, darling. This has been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it. I've loved watching the videos as well. I've still got some more to watch. So thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Bye.